literally when I recommend supplements, whether it's to a patient or on YouTube, there's just no doubt. And people sense that doubt. You know, if you have doubt, people sense it. And I'm not selling it for money, although I'm making more money off product sales than I've ever made in my life because of how awesome you guys' products are. So it's that certainty that is going to really move this forward for you. And it's worth learning. It's worth coming to the seminar. It's worth going to the lab. And you just will see the transformation for your patients and your business. So when you first go and you look at the supplement, D is a very good one. You look at it and you're like, my first reaction was like, well, that's not a very large amount of D in there. I want more D. Why don't I have more D? And then I realized, oh, wait, you don't need as much if you're putting it together synergistically with these other things. And that is, again, somebody can bring me a blood test and show that they have low D. I can put them on DB3 and very quickly we can see it go back up. So wow. It's the proof is in the pudding, and it's worth, I cannot emphasize this enough. It is literally worth your time and effort to learn the system, because it's a superpower. It is literally, it's my superpower when a patient comes in and I know I'm going to put them on a protocol that we have of yours, I know they're going to get well. Like I just do not question it ever again. When I talk to patients either face to face or like I've done some videos on like chronic pain and depression, like if I'm like teaching on a topic, people resonate with, you're going to use this supplement to supplement. It's a supplement. You go in, you create a change, and once the change has been created, you get off of it. And people, that makes sense to people. Yeah. They get that.
Welcome, Systemic Formulas family, and I am so privileged to have with me here today, joining with us, Dr. Mindy Pelz from San Jose, California. And Dr. Mindy, in addition to being a client of Systemic Formulas, a promoter and educator for multiple years now, she also has quite a following on Facebook, YouTube, and she educates people on a diversity of protocols where she uses or recommends Systemic Formulas products. And so one of the reasons I had you on here was to really help our new customers as well as our older customers maybe better understand and comprehend the simplicity of how you carry Systemic Formulas products. So I really appreciate you being on here with us.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you
for joining us and watching.
Yeah, and I'm such a fan of your guys' products. I've said this before, it's like my superpower. When I love that I can give somebody a product and they can see a difference. And it's like the greatest experience. And I don't know if my mindset prior to Systemic was like fearful that people would think I was just selling them something, but nobody ever thinks that anymore, because your products are so amazing. They can feel a difference. And that's what's super cool.
And you have such a, unique clientele. I know that you have your areas of emphasis like fasting. I mean, you've been able to really expound on that and different ways of fasting on your YouTube channel, in your resetters group in Facebook. You've been able to actually align Systemic Formulas remedies along with all of that.
We, as a community online, we do a lot of fasting, and you would think, well, if you're doing fasting, how do you sell supplements when your market is fasting? But it's really cycling fast. So what I teach online and what I teach with my patients is keto, diet variation, fasting, and detoxing. So in a sense, the mindset we want to teach people is that the goal of health is not to stay on one path. Like the goal is not to be, oh, I'm a vegetarian and then I should always be a vegetarian. Now, I know I'm going to upset some people with that comment, but we believe strongly in what we're seeing with our people is that it's in the variation. So keto has a lot of fans and it has a lot of critics. Well, what I teach on all these platforms is that you need to vary everything. And then I teach them the art of that. So for me, that's the basis that Systemic Formulas was built on, and what I personally resonate with is that the goal is not to go on a probiotic and stay on that darn probiotic the rest of your life. When you understand these supplements, you understand that the goal, and I love Hank is the one that actually he really taught me a lot of the way to think about this, is that the goal is that the body is out of balance, and what systemic does is it brings it back into balance. So we can cycle supplements, we can put people on supplements, we can bring them back into balance, and then we can take them off of that supplement. And that concept has people loving what we're saying, has people buying more supplements than I've ever had before, because they get that this is a temporary situation to solve a temporary problem, and then they can be working on their lifestyle. So it's, and I don't know if any other supplement company ever taught me that. You guys really did a good job with that.
Yeah, and speaking of Dr. Hank Williams, I mean, he does have like a crash course training, I call it, where he has these product videos where he talks about that very thing and bringing things to balance.
Yeah.
Regardless, you know, of all the organs and tissues of the body. And so there definitely is a lot to learn from him.
If you have those hopefully on the website or the Facebook page, because
yeah.
we've heard Hank go through all the products like maybe 4 or 5 times now. And each time I learn something new, and I take notes, and it makes me have more and more of an appreciation of how these supplements were created, and that they were meant to bring the body back to homeostasis, and they were meant to be cycled. So that leads to, okay, let me understand the art of systemic formulas, because this is not like buying a supplement off Amazon.
You have somebody who's getting started and they have their area of focus, so detox or GI, and so they want to know what products systemic has to help with that. Then you have to foresee, okay, once the patient's gone through this, well, then how do you rotate into the next step?
Yeah.
How do we keep this a continual, like, evolving process for the patient? And what I hear you saying is that it's important to then move on and rotate into something else.
Yeah.
And then again, rotate into something else after that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very dynamic. And again, I'm going to just go back to when I talk to patients, either face to face or like I've done some videos on like chronic pain and depression. Like if I'm like teaching on a topic, people resonate with, you're going to use this supplement to supplement. It's a supplement. You go in, you create a change. And once the change has been created, you get off of it. And people, that makes sense to people.
Yeah.
They get that. Now, the question I think that is hard for the practitioner, and I know we went through this to really understand, is, well, okay, I mean, I no offense to your catalog, because I think your catalog is amazing, but I remember, but the first time I picked up your catalog, I was like, don't know, you know, I know a lot on nutrition. I do not know how to interpret this thing. So, and now we know how to use it and look at it from, and every time we come to a seminar, we you know, our luggage is over the weight limit because we brought all your catalogs home. So, here's what we did that I think would be helpful for people to understand. So we took some of the supplements that we saw in our practice that people had to be on all the time. So adrenals was our first one. Like I had an adrenal supplement that if I put a patient on it, they felt better, but if I took them off of it, they felt worse. And these people were on these supplements for years and years and years. Now, let me kind of give you an idea of my mind and my heart. I always want to lead with healing and helping first, and monetization second. And so my feeling was like, well, if they're on it forever, does that mean that they're just going to need to take this supplement to their grave? It didn't make sense to me, even though it may have been profitable for me, or what I thought was profitable at that time. So we took our favorite adrenal supplement and we took it to you guys, and we were like, okay, what would you do for adrenals? And you said GA, and then you taught us the bio commands. You said, okay, you put them on a 4-month protocol, you would take GA, and then you would start, and you taught us the art of using the biocommands. So for the first 3 months, all I did is use GA. That was like my first introduction to systemic. And what I found was after 3 to 4 months of following GA with the biocommands, we'd get people off, and then they didn't need to be, they had energy, they were good. And so then they would look at us and they'd be like, oh my God, that supplement was amazing. I couldn't even last a day without the last supplement. Okay, what else do you have? And so then I think we went and we went to gut. I'm pretty sure we started doing some of the gut protocols. And so we just took it like condition by condition, and we just kept asking you guys, okay, what do you do for this condition? How would I put these things together? And then we would go and we would give it to the patient, and the patient would come back and go, this is amazing, I feel better. What else do you have? And
Right.
so it was like all of a sudden, my mind shifted, and I realized that we were not only helping people more, but our supplement sales went through the roof because people were so appreciative. They were so willing. They didn't, a lot of people don't want to be on that same supplement all the time. So they were grateful that they weren't addicted to their supplement. Yeah, I hope that helps, because I think it's really daunting. It's like you guys have so many cool, but take it like condition by condition by condition, and then look at your supplement line and go, okay, well, maybe I need to understand thyroid more. Maybe I need to, like the other day I had a patient who is recovering from a concussion, and so we have all your bunch of supplements now behind our desk, and I just like stood back and I'm like, okay, what do I know? What do we have that is the brain? So, okay, let me get B brain, let me get some Neurocin. So then like I could combine these supplements together and say to the patient, I found 3 supplements and I said, take these for a month, and then let's look at your symptoms in a month. If they're not better in a month, then let's look at what else might be needed. And it's the compliance, the appreciation, the effectiveness is so, it's amazing. It makes it so easy to give the supplements to people. It's just, it feels clear and helpful, and people are appreciative.
So I know people listening in, I mean, you just gave a fountain of information between the biocommands and how you combine those with products, because not everybody knows what biocommands are. And also, how do you know when to transition a patient to the next step? Because some people are a little puzzled as to, okay, what's the typical time frame? Do we do 1 month on this, on GI stuff? Do we do 3 months? And other people would answer that question, well, it depends on the patient. Right. Or some people do multiple months of brain phase while others do 1, so right. there is some variation there. But I know that is a common question that I get from practitioners is, okay, this looks like an awesome protocol. I'm gonna persist with this for the thyroid, but for how long? Right. What should I expect before we move to the next step? How do you kind of address that? What's your philosophy there?
Yeah, so I think it depends what your measurement is. So if you're muscle testing, obviously you've got a formula and you can just keep muscle testing them. I typically have people buy supplement protocols in either a 1 month or a 3 month protocol. So when I make a recommendation, I will either make it for 1 month and then let's do a check-in. I'll do 2 months or I'll do 3 months, and each one has a check-in. Now, okay. Each check-in is different. So for some people, I just say, hey, let me know how your symptoms are. And if they're improving, then the verbiage I use is, we'll get you off the supplement and we'll see if you're stable. If you're stable, then good. Then let's sit there for a moment. If you're not stable, if you get off the supplement, you're not feeling good, we're going to go back on for another 30 days. So now the question then becomes, well, how do you check in with these people? And, my practice is built of chiropractic patients and nutrition patients and detox patients. So everybody's a little different. If I'm actually doing nutrition coaching with them, we actually track it. So we have a log of what their protocol is. And sometimes the patients that I use nutrition on, they'll come to the chiropractic table and they'll go, okay, should I continue? And I got to refocus them to my staff and look at what we recommended. So, but I give them, to answer your point, is I give them a clear definition of time, and then we have a clear check-in, and if it's not improving, we keep going. We do like tests. I mean, I use a lot of functional medicine tests. We do blood work, we do Dutch tests, we do gut zoomers. Oh, I don't know if I'm allowed to say what you guys helped us with for the gut zoomer, but I'm pretty darn excited that we are going to have a supplement protocol for that gut zoomer. So that is going to be amazing. And I'll kind of give the idea behind it is that we have a gut test that tells us which bacteria are out of balance, and then it tells the test actually tells us what herbs you need to use to put it back into balance. And I know you and Jessica spent some time looking at systemic formulas supplements and saying, okay, here's where berberine is, here's where we've got these things. So we now have a 4-month protocol where we can say, this is your gut zoomer, here's the 4 months of systemic formulas supplements we want you to be on. At the end of 4 months, you can retest if you want to pay for the retest, or we can just check in on symptoms. But for me, the way I use systemic with everything is very concrete. It's very concrete.
And the fact that you've learned how to make it as concrete as you have, that's what people crave.
That's what they're craving.
Really, because then it makes it easier to comply with.
Yeah.
There's simplicity there. And I think it's easier for the patients then to follow that when it's very, very, very clear. And from our point of view, it's systemic. That's how we would like to have it too. It should be that way.
Well, you could take the boxes like the GI wellness. I mean, I did a little bit of that in the beginning too. Like, oh, you have a GI problem. Okay. And I didn't really know what was in the box, but I was like, here, take this. Let's check in 30 days once you're finished with all of that. And then people would come back and then they would report how they were feeling. But honestly, I cannot remember the last time that I put somebody on a systemic formula supplement protocol and they came back to me and said that didn't do anything. Like, people just don't say that. They come back and they go, awesome, that was awesome. And most of them will say, well, okay, now what about my thyroid? Can you help me with my thyroid? And then some people say, I just need a break from supplements for a month. And I'm like, great, take a break for a month. And then when you're ready, go back on. If you need another protocol, awesome. So if they see it in like little sets of health, and it's, as opposed to, I have a thyroid problem, let me go to Amazon and kind of see what the most popular thyroid supplement is out there. So, well, because it's the magic of you guys.
Where do you, or how do you implement the biocommands that you touched on briefly earlier? People will want to know what your secret is there, because I mean, those are some of our original formulas.
Yeah.
And they're so easy to use. I mean, I can reassure everyone. I mean, this is not rocket science, but I think you've really mastered how to implement the biocommands.
Yeah. So, okay. So this is the way I look at them, and I get the numbers mixed up sometimes, but let me sort of think about this through. So FungDX and FungDX and Backtracks are 3 and 4, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So take those out of the equation for a moment, because those are the ones that you would only use if you thought that their adrenal fatigue might also be candida related. So if you thought they had candida and they had adrenal fatigue, you would do a GA with a number 4, and then you'd put them together. But most of the time, I look at the organ of deficit and I go, okay, let's look at the adrenals. And we start with number 6, which is restore. So the first thing we want to do is restore some function back to a deficient adrenal. Now, this is how we use it, and there are different ways to use it. So once we've restored some function, then we go to activator, which I believe is 1.
Yeah.
1. Okay.
Yeah.
And so we'll do GA and restore for a month. And then we'll go GA and activate for a month.
Okay.
Then we see how you feeling. Is your energy coming up? Are you doing better? If they're not doing super great, then we'll go and we'll do GA and what's number 2?
Builder.
Builder. So then we'll go and we'll build up again. So we'll go 2. So and we'll do that for a month. And then we usually finish with stabilize, which I think is number 5, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So we'll go GA. Once they're good, then we'll do 1 month of GA and stabilizer. So you now have them on a very dynamic, it's like number 6, 1, 2, 5, and you got them on a very dynamic, that takes a 4-month protocol. And at the end of the 4 months, if they're not better, typically what we'll say is, okay, if your adrenals are not better, we're missing something. There's something else that's draining your adrenals. And usually we'll go to heavy metals at that point and go, okay, it's an HPA axis. We need to go up and look at the pituitary. And then maybe it leads to a discussion of, let's do some TCD. So, it's just keeping it in a very dynamic flow. I'm going to go back to watch Dr. Hank Williams' video, because if you just give them GA for 4 months, there's a point at which the body will get used to the GA and it stops adapting. So the bio commands are there to make sure that the body never gets stuck in a healing rut, that it's always continuing to make changes because you add in a new bio command each month. And that's brilliant. And that's nobody has experienced supplements like that.
And from the perspective of a patient, it's easier to follow.
Much easier to follow. A lot of times we'll just sell all 4 months. If they're really bad, or we'll sell 2 months and say, okay, in 2 months, check in with us. So it really depends on the severity of the condition. But what I would do if you're new to this is figure out what you love to treat. Is it gut? Is it thyroid? Is it adrenals? Is it brain? And then dive into the supplements that you guys have to treat that. And you guys are so great at, like, we call you, you help us through the process. I mean, just what you and Jessica did with the gut zoomer was amazing. Like, we looked at all these imbalances and all these herbs, and I'm like, oh, I just wish I understood all the different things and all the different supplements on systemic formulas. And you guys put it together. So, lean into the help of systemic formulas, because you guys do an amazing job.
And I think there is that theme in this conversation. What you're telling me is that although you are definitely an expert across the board, you don't have to be the dynamic herbal expert in knowing what berberine does and everything there is to know about beta carotene. And you don't have to become the biochemist, if you will.
Yeah, I do think, and I don't know where the webinars are on this, or come to a seminar. Let me say that the basic principle of systemic formula supplements is that they're taking nutrients and herbs and bioenergetics, and they're mixing that together. So, I don't know if it was Jack Tips that taught us this, or Hank, but the idea that Doc Wheelwright was able to look at the pancreas and measure the energy of the pancreas, and then make sure that the herbs that he's putting in there are at that same frequency, at that same energy frequency, is the magic. That is why people feel a difference. I used to think it was the herbalomic piece, but I think it's the bioenergetic piece, because everything within that supplement is lined up perfectly to heal the organ or tissue that it's going after. It's not just saying you're vitamin C deficient, which we did that when we first joined, or first kind of got to know your product. We're like, where's the vitamin C? Where's the vitamin E? And you guys very lovingly were like, no, we don't sell it like individual like that. It's because the combination of the nutrient, the herb, and the energy, that is unique.
One newer customer recently nailed it. I think they said, Mike, what this does, the formulation or the synergy, helps everything be more efficient for my patient. Whereas, I could put them on 5,000 IU of D3 just by itself, a little tablet that they could swallow every day. But your DV3 formula that has the 4,000 plus IU of D3 plus the antioxidants, the K2, the minerals, the bioflavonoids, et cetera, is actually brought my patient better, faster results.
Yeah.
Granted, there's no quick fix, but it does make the process more efficient.
Absolutely. And when you first go and you look at the supplement, D is a very good one. You look at it and you're like, my first reaction was like, well, that's not a very large amount of D in there. I want more D. Why don't I have more D? And then I realized, oh, wait, you don't need as much if you're putting it together synergistically with these other things. And that is, again, somebody can bring me a blood test and show that they have low D. I can put them on DB3 and very quickly we can see it go back up. So wow. It's the proof is in the pudding, and it's worth, I cannot emphasize this enough. It is literally worth your time and effort to learn the system, because it's a superpower. It is literally, it's my superpower when a patient comes in and I know I'm going to put them on a protocol that we have of yours, I know they're going to get well. Like I just do not question it ever again.
With your focus of fasting, your resetters group where people can find you on Facebook and the tremendous following you have there, when you look at all your patients that are fasting, what is your, I guess for those who are asking, okay, can I take supplements while I'm fasting? Mm-hmm. Should I wait until I break the fast? You know, if I'm intermittent fasting and I don't break the fast until 2 o'clock after 16 hours, after 18 hours, is that when I start taking my supplements? Yeah. Or can I take them during the fast? What is your?
Yeah. This is like the most common question we get. So, okay, so here's the way I look at it. If you're going to do an extended fast, like a 3-5 day water fast or longer, what you're really asking and what you're trying to do, whether you realize it or not, is tap into the innate intelligence of the body. You're really like asking the body, I'm going to take food away, so I'm going to maximize your healing. For me, in my chiropractic background, I have so much respect for innate that I don't want to mess with innate at all. So if it's a longer fast, I just say drink water and back away. Now, having said that, if some people, if they're having really strong detox reactions from fasting, we'll have them take bind. So I tell them that you can take a couple bind at night, and just because you're stimulating autophagy, your body's going through some self-detoxing. So, you know, bind is really good to make sure that you're getting it, that you actually, because people can actually have a bowel movement on a 3-day fast, and so that you're getting it out of your system. So that would be the only one that I say literally nothing other than bind. Now, okay. Intermittent fasting, I've come up with 7 different fasts that we guide people through. 24-hour fasts, fast mimicking, which actually you guys, we need to talk on this. You guys have made incredibly easy through Catabo Shake. But the different variations of fasting, I think most of us that practice that type of fasting, we've learned to take our supplements in a fasted state. I used to always be like, I would just take my supplements after I ate. That was like what my brain thought I should do. And I actually now take them in a fasted state. And I find I like them better in a fasted state. They're more effective that way. So in that scenario, you're not really trying to just, I mean, of course, there's an innate intelligence process that's happening, but it's not as deep as a 3 to 5 day. So any other fast, you just take them on an empty stomach. If people go, oh, I'm a little nauseous, then okay, well, once you start eating, then take them then. Now, there are some like prep, give me energy. E-energy, Moors gives me energy. And I usually, it's not like an energy like I'm amped. It's more like it's 11 o'clock at night and I don't feel like going to bed. And that sometimes doesn't work to my advantage. So I will take those supplements as early in the day and in a fasted state as much as possible. So.
For those of you who may not already know this, so Dr. Mindy can be found on YouTube, and your YouTube channel, that's one of the many areas you can be found, but YouTube is that under your name or is that under Resetters?
Yeah, if you go to YouTube, and if you want to like kind of see what I'm doing with the fasting and the supplements, go to YouTube. There's educational videos. I can do a little longer video over there. On Instagram, I do a lot of pictures, and they're all my name, Dr. Mindy Pelz. I do a lot of pictures of the supplements that I take or little things that I recommend. I'll put it in my Instagram story a lot. And then if you want to fast with us, you can either do that on my YouTube channel or in my Resetter group on Facebook. And that's a private group. You just be sure you answer the questions, and we let you in, and you can be a part of that experience.
So on YouTube, or excuse me, on Facebook, if they go up to the top of the search bar and they type in resetters,
it should say, I think it's just resetters. I think I'm the only resetters there. We have like 20,000 people in there right now. So if it says 200 people, then that's not the group. Or go to my Dr. Mindy Pelz Facebook page, and it'll link you to the resetters on Facebook.
Great.
That's another way. So yeah, so you can see, I mean, I'm such a fan of your guys' stuff. I can't keep quiet about it. Because I want people to experience it. And it irritates me that people use supplements wrong when they could be doing it this way. And they could be, being more effective. It could be healthier. And I mean, I don't know if you probably know this. There was an article or a study that came out showing that there's a very well-known brand that was packed with heavy metals in it, and a supplement brand. And I'm like, yeah, like it makes no sense to take a supplement that has a heavy metal and then come over here and detox heavy metals with us. I appreciate the thoroughness at which you guys test all of that.
So when you came out to an initial tour with Systemic in one of your first seminars, you went up to the lab. And was that something that they addressed for you as far as, and that is a third-party lab, by the way. I mean, it's here at Systemic, but it's actually owned by Nutribiome, separate entity. And so it is, all of our supplements, ingredients are third-party tested. But you got to actually witness the equipment there when you came up for the tour, didn't you?
Yeah, and I'll tell you what my wow factor was, is you guys were talking about, you were showing us every step that you measured heavy metals. And then you showed us the last step. And it was like, I don't know if you still do this, but it was like a little metal detector that the bottle, I have a bottle of Fung DX here. It was like the bottle went through the little metal detector. And it seemed like every 4 or 5 supplements didn't pass the metal detector and got pushed off to the side. And my first thought was like, oh my gosh, that's a lot. I mean, this is the 5th test, and you guys were emphasized, it is so important to us that there's no heavy metals in it, that we will not sell anything that has a heavy metal in it. And our standard is super tight so that people, because agreed, I think we all agree, why would you detox metals with supplements that have metals in them?
For us, our lab director would say, not only do we have GMPs, good manufacturing practices, but we have GLPs, good lab practices. Yeah. And they treat that very, very seriously. I mean, the work is meticulously done. So there is quite a process to make this, so that when you're getting a product, there's guaranteed potency and effectiveness, but safety as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and I have said this before, come to the seminar, go to the tour, because literally when I recommend supplements, whether it's to a patient or on YouTube, there's just no doubt, and people sense that doubt. If you have doubt, people sense it. And I'm not selling it for money, although I'm making more money off product sales than I've ever made in my life because of how awesome you guys' products are. So it's that certainty that is going to really move this forward for you. And it's worth learning. It's worth coming to the seminar. It's worth going to the lab. And you just will see the transformation for your patients and your business. So, and I want to make sure, so we don't run, before we run out of time, Catabo Shake, for those of you that want to try fast mimicking, Dr. Pompa, Dr. Shane put that together as a version of fast mimicking. And we've been doing that in the Resetter group, and people love that product.
I'm glad you brought that to everyone's attention, because it's super important. The Catabo Shake meets the criteria, right, of 70% fat, and then there's moderate protein, which comes from collagen. It's really easy to break down in the gut, and then you have, minimal, low carb. And the fats there's a plethora of fats.
They're like chia seed fat. I looked at my chia seeds and I thought, there's no way I could eat enough chia seeds to get the fat that I needed. But Shane just did an amazing job with that.
What about also there's also extracellular ketones that can go alongside that.
Yep, I like using it with kids because you can't always get them into, a fasted state to get the ketones. Where I'm using it with some of my elderly, and then people are struggling to get into ketosis. We kind of go, okay, well, let's give you a little push. And then we use it in the office. A lot of times we'll just take a jar and start handing out samples in the afternoon when everybody's having a dip, and it's fun to watch people get that, like, they come back and they're like, I don't know what you gave me last week, but I felt really good when I left here. So yeah, those are two great products. We've enjoyed using them. So
Well, without further ado, thank you, Dr. Mindy, for being on with us today. And I mean, your information is paramount,
thank you.
and just really appreciate your time being with us
Yeah.
today.
Well, I really appreciate you guys. Like, I don't think words will ever describe how grateful we are, not only for how kind you are, and I mean, like, I love how you opened this up, that we're a family, because that's how we feel. And it's not only do we love you, but the results we're getting is just it's just incredible. I don't really have words for it, because I know in my heart that I'm doing the best thing I can possibly do for my patients by giving them this. So thank you for your hard work.
Thanks so much.